being funny.
Yeah. Sorry. All funniness must cease.
You are legally allowed to be funny and also
no,
be
not
on
what
top.
I've watched Boris Johnson. Doesn't sound like we're allowed to legally be funny. Gotcha.
This Pepsi does not have enough rum in it for that.
It did. Well, this tonic does have enough gin in it, so I'm all right.
Fair enough.
And Alex, whatever you've got in your whatever drink it is, I'm sure it'll be lovely.
Oh, it is lovely. It's super duper.
It's fizz with water or whatever it is.
Yes,
it's amazing.
okay.
Orange juice.
I know you will. I know you will recoil and shudder in pain, but I have an alcohol-free cider.
Oh, I've never drunk one of those. Is it nice? Well, you've got a comparison, but
they're like fizzy pop, basically.
So cider, to be honest.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
An alcohol-free cider. I've never tried something.
No, I mean, why would you?
Good point. I just have like water or coffee.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's okay. Going straight for the other end.
Yeah.
Okay, just so I kind of got some a vague running order. Hey, it could happen. What films do we want to talk about this week?
Ones with people in?
Well, that's bold. I watched. I had a bit of a Tarantino-esque fest this weekend. Did True Romance, Reservoir Dogs, and Pulp Fiction.
Okay. Well, pick one that we can start the conversation with, and then we can move on to the others.
Okay. True Romance. Start at the beginning.
Not one I've seen. There we go.
Oh, really?
No?
I'm actually gobsmacked by that. Really?
Nope.
Wow.
Alex?
Yes.
Same question, Alex.
What? Films? When?
What is your favourite colour?
Let's not do that one. John will never listen to us again.
We've actually been watching the Oceans films again.
Well, they start well, don't they?
Yeah, well,
they end well too. 8's really good. We'll come back to that. 8 is really good.
Ocean's 8?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that.
Is that the one with the
silly?
I was going to say, is that the one with the female cast?
Yes, it's the one with his sister. And
yeah. I've only watched the first one.
Do you mean the one in the 50s?
The first one of the modern versions. You bellend.
I've watched the old one as well. I love the old one. It's really good.
Yeah, we'll talk about the... we've not watched the third one, Ocean's 13, yet.
Don't.
Let's
just stop where you are.
Let's wait. So I've got... oh, dear.
Michael, what have you watched?
I've got Monsters on my list. As well as...
what's that? I don't know what that is.
That's literally... You explained the plot to me last time. It's the...
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah,
it's because it's got a title that doesn't mean anything. Yes, I've seen it, yes. It's good.
Okay. So, okay. Well, do you want to do the Tarantino first, or...?
Yep, absolutely.
Because I think we did mine first last time, so I'll put me last this time.
It's good that you're typing out a running order.
It's literally 3 films.
It's amazing. It's like doing a podcast with Chris Miller. I haven't got a keyboard, I'm just tapping on my desk.
No, he'd send things first, and he'd organise things.
He would. I've done it. Yeah, he does.
And that
C-3PO, what colour do you want to be?
That just sounds like hard work, frankly.
I didn't do it very many times, I'll be honest. It's fun, though.
I have literally never heard of this film.
What?
True Romance.
Okay, well, we can work on that. I'm shocked, actually. I genuinely was not expecting you to say that. If I go, like, some Shane Carruth obscurity, you'd be like, huh? I'd be like, we'll come back to that, by the way. I need to rewatch them, or we could do... Actually, the next time.
I think it's because it's not a Tarantino-directed film.
So generally is regarded as a Tarantino film, but
yeah.
You're right, he didn't direct it, yes.
Anyway. Hello, and welcome
Mike,
to the Quarantine Film Club.
Actually, Mike, sorry, 1 second.
Interruptions, again, it's...
I just wanted to interrupt you there for a second.
I know you did, and thank you. It really does bring the whole
Mike,
piece to
come
life.
on now, you're dragging this down. Move on, quickly, please.
Alex, awesome. I love it.
Hello and welcome to the Quarantine Film Club, episode 2. I'm Mike.
Are we
I'm
not
Kurt.
called Elite Cadre anymore?
We can be Elite Cadre Part 2: The Revenge, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Alex. But you knew that already.
And I'm Kurt. That Alex took over. It's fine.
I've
I
never
don't know where he lives,
introduced
but I don't
anyone.
anymore.
Ha ha ha.
We continue to be the well-oiled podcasting machine that we have been for the last 9 years.
Dear
Scary.
God.
That is scary.
What the living hell.
Yes, 2011 we've been going since, and oh boy. Anyway, we're here once again to talk about more films that we've watched in the weeks since the last episode. We've had a quick conflab beforehand, and first of all, we're going to get a Kurt who's going to talk about True Romance.
Do you mean as a concept or as a?
Well, I mean, preferably the film that you've watched.
Oh, see, right, I did, yeah. I had a bit of a Tarantino binge this weekend, starting with because I've got a Blu-ray box set. So yeah, True Romance, love True Romance. I remember seeing it in cinema when it first came out. A really big favourite of mine. It's a Tarantino movie by script, but it is directed by Tony Scott. It stars Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette. Yes, that's right around.
Yeah.
And a massive cast of
People.
guests kind of, well, people like Christopher Walken and loads of people kind of appearing out of nowhere, unrecognisable at times, like Gary Oldman, looking like nothing else you've ever seen him.
Well, I'm looking at the cast list now because we had the
amazing.
discussion beforehand, and this is not a film I'd actually heard of, which I know disappointed you in ways that are beyond imagining.
I am shocked. I
yeah.
really am, because not in a. Mate, you should definitely watch it. It's just because it's really good and it's not obscure and weird and my usual fare. It's just really good.
Well, I mean, looking at the list of names, it's like, okay, Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette, Dennis Hopper, Val Kilmer, Gary Oldman, Brad Pitt, Christopher Walken, Samuel L. Jackson.
Very much.
I mean, and
Before
then
he was the thing, yeah.
yeah, then you get down to like Saul Rubinek, James Gandolfini. There's a lot of people in there that are
Brad
like,
Pitt as
major
well.
stars. I'd already
Yeah,
gone
Brad-
for that one.
I missed that. Yeah, there are. Most of them having very small parts as well.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer to the point where you don't see him properly. I'm not joking either. He's a very subdued. He's on screen and you don't really see his face except out of focus at a distance. He's a very interesting character. It's just a really good film. It's a romance. I actually watched the alternative ending with Tarantino's commentary as well after watching it because I couldn't remember what happened, and he originally scripted it with without any real spoilers of a different ending, a sadder ending, and without spoiling it for you, Mike. But Tony Scott wanted a more upbeat, felt that they deserved an upbeat ending, and it's really really good. It's very much 3 defined acts, and it's very well written, very well directed. I think I probably watched it because it was Tony Scott initially, because none of us had heard of Tarantino at the time. Whether you remember that, that being a thing. I mean, I saw Reservoir Dogs before knowing who Tarantino was as well.
I mean, I am going to say this was 1993. I was 10 years old when this came out.
I was not. I was not 10 years old when this came out.
I was not 10 years old either.
You were like 11. Yeah.
No, I was 8.
Oh wow, you were the way. Okay. No, I was 20. So I went to cinema. Yeah. Yep. It was very good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah. So it's just really good. I could recommend it. It's one of my. I would say. Probably my favourite Tarantino, possibly. Certainly one of my top 10, top 20. If I had to write a list, films, True Romances.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's one of my right up there.
I mean,
It's really, really good.
yeah. Again, not one I've heard of. And to be honest, I'm looking at sort of the director's previous stuff. It does look like he's done. I mean, he's definitely done some interesting stuff.
What? Tony Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah, some
Director-
huge blockbusters, especially in the 80s.
Yeah, Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Days of Thunder, Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide's awesome. I love Crimson Tide. Yeah, he's done amazing films.
Yeah, Crimson Tide, which incidentally I've only watched for the first time recently.
Crimson Tide is really cool submarine movie. It's really, really good. It works with a lot of the same people, like a lot of directors. You see a lot of repeating actors and appearances. Back in the sort of 80s, Ridley Scott was making quite obscure, weird sci-fi, all sorts of unusual type things, and Tony Scott was the more commercial brother who would make Top Gun, make Days of Thunder, make these blockbusters that would be, you know, Joe Silver kind of blockbusters. And they sort of came together somewhere in the 90s when sort of, well, I think Gladiator was 2000, but when Gladiator seemed to change that at the end of the 90s when suddenly Ridley Scott started making things that were big, and probably more people know Ridley Scott's name now than Tony, which wasn't the case back then, I don't think.
Yeah. Oh, I would definitely say that. Yeah, just based off Ridley Scott's association with things like the Alien series, Blade Runner, just.
But that's now. Then they were they were geeky, alternative-y sci-fi movies then.
Yeah.
So then now, you're right, pop culture's changed quite dramatically, and they are films that are more. Yeah. So I had a bit of a start of a Tarantino binge, and that's kind of started because I think of it as a Tarantino movie. Partly, I suppose, because when you watch, especially if you watch. So I watched 3 Tarantino movies this weekend, and the dialogue overlap is huge between those 3, between the first 3 films, between True Romance, Reservoir Dogs, and Pulp Fiction. He borrows phrases, dialogue between those movies quite heavily, and you can really recognise that they're almost a trilogy of themselves in a way.
So you kind of talked around True Romance quite a lot. What's the sort of the general gist of it without?
It's a Bonnie and Clyde-esque romance between Clarence and I forgot her name now. Alabama, yeah. So they meet, fall in love, get into a bit of trouble kind of accidentally, and then kind of go on the run, but they're not from the police, but from bad people. Yeah. I don't know how to sort of do that without spoiling it. I think it's better to watch it, but it's really, really good fun. It's not. You can say it's a road movie, but it's not really. They start in Detroit and they go to LA. It's not really a road movie, isn't it? You see them travel, but they flee to LA, or no, it's not really true either. They just go there to facilitate things, and yeah, it's just really, really good. It does not an awful lot necessarily happens. The plot is fairly kind of short, point A to point B in a lot of respects, but there's a lot going on around them.
Yeah. Okay.
See, it's difficult to talk about without ruining it, I think. If you've never seen it.
See, whereas I've got, I've recently watched another one of the lesser known. I hesitate to say Tarantino's, but he was partially involved in it, and 4 Rooms.
Oh, I like 4 Rooms. That was years ago. I saw 4 Rooms last time. Yeah, Tim Roth, isn't it?
So again, it's another. Tarantino was one of, I think it was either 4 or 5 directors that were involved in the project.
Was Rodriguez involved as well? Was it?
Yes. So it's a 1995 film. Directors Alison Anders, Alexander Rockwell, Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino, and interesting. IMDb lists Chuck Jones. I suspect there's a cartoon sequence that's shown on there that. Of course, the actual cartoon sequence in the film.
Oh.
At the start, so
right.
that is even more interesting that Chuck Jones did that. Anyway, 4 Rooms is a series of slightly tangentially connected short stories that are a lot more wacky than I would normally credit Tarantino with being.
The cast is interesting as well, isn't it? There's a lot of people that you kind of go, oh, who's that? I know that. Who's that person? Isn't she so-and-so's daughter in this? Or isn't that person this? And...
Genuinely, there was a moment where it's like, that looks like Madonna, but it can't be. No, she wouldn't be involved in something like this. Looked it up on IMDb. Oh, no, that is Madonna. Okay. Antonio Banderas is in there as well. Salma Hayek, although that's very much a background piece. As you said, you've got Tim Roth, Marissa Tomei. You've got a really kind of good, solid cast in there. The stories are the stories are interesting, but you really have to be prepared for something that is far more wacky than anything else I've ever seen Tarantino do or be involved in. It's definitely got a touch of the surreal.
I haven't watched it in a long time. But yes, it is. It's
Well, given that the
kind of 4 separate stories with Tim Roth being the kind of bellboy connecting character between the 4 stories, but the 4 stories are kind of connected as well. It's
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with a hotel on New Year's Eve. It is a little bit of a grotty hotel, I think it's fair to say. Tim Roth is kind of the incoming bellboy who's dealing with everything, and he's trying to put a happy face on everything and give people the best time he can. And there are a load of whack jobs in his hotel, starting with a group of witches hoping to resurrect a goddess.
wow, I'd forgotten that. That's really
Yeah,
good.
that's literally the first sequence, and
Right.
if anything, it gets weirder from there. I mean, it's probably one of Tarantino's lesser regarded films as well. It's not by any means a highlight of his oeuvre, shall we say. But it's good fun. If you're looking for something that's silly and weird, I'd probably
Sitting
recommend
weird. Yeah, sitting weird's where I am. We live.
it. Yeah. So what other Tarantino did you get your hands on?
Went chronologically, so went with True Romance and then Reservoir Dogs, which I haven't watched in quite a long time. I remember seeing that opening weekend before I had any clue who Tarantino was or what this thing was, and Friday or Saturday night of opening weekend, and loved it. Packed cinema, really, really loved it from the start. Also, I remember being convinced that you see him actually cut his ear off. I was convinced for the 2 or 3 years between cinema and then video or DVD that you see it, and of course it's all implied.
Given the film is 1992, I think it would be more likely to VHS than DVD. But there we go.
Yeah, all right. No need to be mean.
I wasn't trying to be, but there we go.
Yeah, it's probably VHS. Yeah, it was very. It was awesome. I loved it. It was fantastic. And watching it again was really. I mean, I've seen it obviously since, but it was really, really good. That's a really good story. Just it's a diamond heist kind of.
Yeah.
Gone wrong. Is that fair to say? Yes.
Yeah.
Diamond heist.
Can I
did
just
not
stop
work.
for a sec? Alex, I'm getting a lot of breathing noise off you over the microphone.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'll move
Sorry,
away a little
Stop
bit. Is that
breathing, please.
any better?
It's much. It's. If I said it was quite nasal, and whistly.
I'm sorry.
That-
I apologise.
It's all right.
Very personal. now.
That's why I pointed out. Well, I had to go back to the last episode and edit out a load of random sounds from all of us. So yeah, that was the thing.
Say we're not as
Podcasting,
professional as we used to
eh?
be.
Wow, talking over each other. We're really regressing in time.
I'll try and breathe through my mouth more.
Oh, excellent. So yeah, I would say yeah, jewelry heist gone wrong. Which
Yes, with lots
And
of
it's-
lovely flashbacks as they got together and as they met each other, and just gradual flashbacks of all the characters filling in their stories as it goes.
Well, it's very much a story that's told out of order, which I think does become something of a Tarantino trademark for a while at least.
Yeah, I don't think it happens. Oh, no, it comes and goes, doesn't it? Because you can say
Yeah.
that about several other films later on too.
Yeah. And you're dealing with a group of people who are all dealing with each other in code names, and again, for what is I think kind of a low budget movie, you're dealing with a fantastic cast.
Yeah, very.
Like Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth again, part of Tarantino's.
I think at the
revolving
time
cast.
it was made, it wasn't the cast wasn't as big as they are now. I would argue.
Harvey Keitel, I think, was
Yeah.
the biggest name.
Yeah, Keitel was definitely the headline act of that piece. I think Chris Penn was very much kind of
Up-and-coming,
earlier in
yeah.
his career, but kind of upcoming. Tim Roth, you're probably right, he was not that well known. Steve
No.
Buscemi, character actor. Yeah.
Again, early on, although he's older, it was early on. He'd done quite obscure B movies, indie movies by that point,
Yeah.
more than anything else.
Yeah. So you're right. It is a cast that has become more famous in retrospect, as it were.
Yes, it's just really good. And just again, it's a quick retrospect. You start kind of at not quite at the end, but towards the end of the movie, and you gradually get flashbacks to them as they meet each other and come to terms with what they're trying to do.
Yeah. No, it does have a very interesting storytelling style in that it's just as you're starting to wonder about certain things that it flashes back and gives you that bit of information.
Yeah,
and
that's very true.
Just fills in a little bit more, but never quite gives you the full picture of who you can trust, who's being genuine, who's maybe a bit more on the take than others. It is a very well done film. It's one that myself I've only watched in the last 12 to 18 months.
Well, for the first time. Wow.
Yeah. A lot of Tarantino movies kind of passed me by because I was either too young or not very interested in them.
They did kind of get. I could understand from the hype point of view. They did get sort of overhyped after a while. And look, I don't know if that's fair because he's really good as a director. Has a very unique style and really doesn't do anything by halves. But at the same time, there is a hype attached to a Tarantino movie. So I can understand people avoiding or sort of leaning away from it from that point of view. And I'm not I don't lean towards big hyped movies, but having started with Tarantino right at the beginning, I ignore the hype and just watch it for how make my decision.
You used to watch Tarantino films before they were cool, though, didn't you?
Well, they were only cool. I think the only time before they were cool is that opening couple of weeks of Reservoir Dogs. And then they were suddenly very cool.
Yeah, that's
but only briefly. Yeah.
No, I think over the years I've kind of come to appreciate him more as a director, other than Kill Bill 2, but that's a side point.
We can come back to that one. We'll circle back round to Kill Bill.
In several years when I've got over my anger issues.
I also watched a film that I didn't see in cinema over the weekend, which was Pulp Fiction. And I remember the first time I watched that, which I think was probably DVD, and I remember almost turning it off. I remember being really annoyed by it when I first watched it.
In what sense?
Because I didn't know what it was, so I didn't know didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it was. I deliberately avoided any spoilers or anything that told me anything. And you get to the Christopher Walken speech in the middle, where Bruce Willis is, the boy that becomes Bruce Willis is giving the big speech by Christopher Walken. And at that point, I'm like, well, this is interesting, but I don't know where this fits together. I don't care. Because you don't care about characters unless you've watched it before. By that point in the film, you don't give two monkeys about anyone.
You're building that up, aren't you, I think?
It's a repeat watch type of film, but you watched it the first time. I didn't see it in cinema, so in cinema I probably would just sat there and gone, okay, yeah, what next? Okay. But at home, watching it, I went, oh my God, what is this trying to do? I didn't turn it off, but almost did.
I will actually say I had a very similar experience to you the first time I watched it. I couldn't deal with it the first time I watched it. I just did not care about anything that was happening in that film. But it was only in years later, after having had like multiple discussions of, oh no, it's an excellent film, you need to watch it. Like, okay. And then I went back to it the second time. I was like, I get this now. I get more of this.
I can't specifically remember the first time I did watch it, but I can't ever remember any memories of thinking this is no good. I think I quite liked it from the outset, to be fair.
This time watching it, I was really aware of thinking about the chronology and where do things fit together, and you obviously have to take the Christopher Walken speech completely out because it doesn't belong anywhere, apart from like 30 years before the film, or as a flashback memory, which is kind of what it is, but it doesn't have. You don't know that till afterwards. What I did realise watching it yesterday was most of it is in order. The vast majority of it is just in order.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And
with
I I thought for ages, certainly for a couple of viewings, that it was quite jumbled up. And you watch it now and you go, right, so the beginning in the cafe belongs quite sort of in the middle, and the ending belongs with it somewhere in the middle. But the rest of it actually flows chronologically, quite staggeringly so. It's because I kind of made that assumption that it's all kind of mixed up, and it's not at all. Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's that then, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I thought everyone's gone quiet, so I thought I'd.
No, we were kind of you were giving us a good spiel, and we thought you were going to carry on, but
I wondered if I'd lost connection. That's why I stopped.
No.
I just really like it. It's got really interesting characters. It really brought back Travolta in a big way. It launched Samuel Jackson's career in a massive way. It's got a lot of very fabulous actors in the same way we just described with the two films. Lots and lots of. Harvey Keitel again has an amazing, very small, very succinct, concentrated part that is just fantastic.
Yeah, it does
which has been prolonged into the Direct Line adverts.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, it does have that whole thing of kind of being a big thing for Samuel L. Jackson. It's like his career had been going for a while before this, and
yes.
Yeah, it did just make him a lot bigger. Which is very strange to think of, a time when Samuel L. Jackson wasn't a superstar, but there you go.
But so he's in True Romance, a very small part again, literally half a dozen lines. Quite a presence on screen, but it's a small part. And he'd been in quite a lot of other things as fairly small parts or small movies.
Yeah.
And after this was the movie where there's big quotable sections that you could just quote. It's the start of quoting Samuel L. in any context, isn't it? It's the first one.
Yeah. No, I did have to remind.
What?
I did have to remind someone recently.
Again?
Yeah. Say what again?
I did have to.
What?
Really? I did have to remind someone recently that he was actually in Coming to America.
He's also in Jurassic Park.
Yes, he is.
He is.
He's in Jurassic Park looking older than he does now.
Yeah. How does that work? Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson is somewhat aging backwards, and it's kind of strange.
You have to obviously don't include Captain Marvel in that thought process. It will just fuck with you.
Yeah, that is very true.
That makes it worse. Just you can't get away from that. It's just what. Yeah, say what again?
Yeah.
What?
Hand me that lightsaber.
Yeah, I would say as part of the whole kind of appreciation of Tarantino. He's just determined to speak over me for the entire episode.
He is.
I'm sorry, Mike. I will cease and desist and allow you to speak now.
If you were sorry, you'd have stopped 9 years ago.
He did.
No, I'd say as part of the whole appreciation of Tarantino thing, he actually gets immensely close to getting a film in my top 10 of all time. It's between his film, which is The Hateful Eight, and John Carpenter's The Thing.
I do like Hateful Eight.
Because
I think for me, John Carpenter comes in above that. I do like Hateful Eight. Hateful Eight isn't even my favourite Tarantino, but it wouldn't come in for me. I like it. I like it, but The Thing for me is seminal and bordering on untouchable.
Well, the Thing is the inspiration for The Hateful Eight. The Hateful Eight is the Western version of it.
Do you know what? I did not know that, and I hadn't thought about that.
It's actually, believe it or not, it's actually the same person scoring it.
What, John Carpenter?
No, the composer from The Thing is also the composer.
Oh, okay. I thought that was John Carpenter because he scores a lot of his own films.
No.
Oh, he wrote the theme.
He might have done.
Does he score it 10 out of 10?
Yes, Alex. Every time.
But
Sorry. But yeah,
I did not know. I didn't know that. This is like that Die Hard moment from last time, isn't it? I didn't know that, and I'm now going and I'm kind of processing, going, wait, I'm going to have to watch this again now. I even quite like the Mary Elizabeth Winstead remake prequel of The Thing. I quite like that. I know a lot of people don't, but I quite like it.
I was iffy on that. I was half and half. I watched.
It's not better than The Thing. I'm not trying to say it's better.
No. And
I just like it.
And I think it's only tangentially connectable. I think they did as good a job as they could, given the boundaries of what they were in. But I felt...
I'm going to have to go and watch Hateful Eight again. I need to do that. Yep.
So, looking it up, it's Ennio Morricone.
Oh, okay. Right. That's the guy who scores all the spaghetti western. Don't think he scored The Thing at all. He scores the spaghetti westerns.
I'm going to check now.
All the Sergio Leone movies, he scores all of those. So Once Upon a Time in the West and A Few Dollars More and all those.
He did, in fact, score The Thing.
He did?
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so obviously John Carpenter wrote the theme, but that was it.
So in this instance, I'm right.
You are. Ennio Morricone did the theme. Did the thing. Wow.
Yeah. So
I love that film. It's just really good.
Oh yeah. No, the Thing is an almost untouchable movie. I am not a horror fan. I will lay those cards on the table now. I love that movie just for the sense of isolation, but also the claustrophobia it gives you at the same time.
So that's one of those movies. I have a small list of movies of things that I really want to watch with my children, but really can't. Because you want to share things. When you have children, you want to share things with them. And American Wolf in London and The Thing and a few other things, you kind of go, I want them to watch this, and they really can't for like 10 years.
Yeah, it's like, how much do I want to scar them for life?
Well, I've ordered Who Goes There, the board game, and I want to play it, but they can't watch the film that explains it.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, when do you first show someone Alien?
When they left home.
Because that is a film I watched that while I was in primary school,
What?
I had problems for that haunted my nightmares for years afterwards.
So you're not the only person who said that. Somebody I dated had seen I think it was just the art book from it, and she didn't sleep for weeks after somebody brought the art book into school at junior school. Didn't sleep for weeks. Yeah.
Poltergeist had much the same effect.
I did that, but I was 12 or 13 when it was first on TV, and I had the same thing. That was the scariest thing I watched.
Didn't help that I had a clown doll in my room.
No, I didn't watch. So I watched Aliens before I watched Alien, which is awful. And I first watched Alien, I think I might have been 17, 18, and a late night, midnight double bill of both of them together in the cinema.
So you've mentioned Aliens, and I get to bring up a trivia fact about this one now as well. The soundtrack to Aliens, if you listen carefully, vast swathes of it are made up of tracks that were discarded from The Wrath of Khan.
It's the same. Just James Horner again, isn't it?
Same composer, but he's brought.
It's so geeky, isn't it? We're quoting composers of movies now. So James Horner also did Predator, and there's lots of elements of Predator in it too.
Well, he was brought onto the project so late, he didn't have time to do a full score.
I didn't know that. That's very good and geeky. I like that.
Yeah, because Jim Cameron fell out with the original composer. Or there's some kind of disagreement that led to them leaving the project. Right. And Horner was brought on really late and just kind of went, I've got these in the cupboard, we can use these for this. I was like, yeah, why not? Go for it.
Excellent.
So there you go.
Which is why it sounds like lots of other James Horner scores. Yeah.
Exactly. Actually, you're saying Predator, wasn't that Silvestri?
I don't think so. I thought the theme, I thought it was James Horner.
I'm gonna have to check that now.
Yeah, I'm be embarrassed if I'm wrong. Yeah.
Clacky keyboard is coming out.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. That's to us. He's not actually typing, Alex. That is a sound effect that he's inserting to give you that research effect. Yeah.
Predator music by Alan Silvestri.
Oh, look at you, out geeking me on scores.
So there we go.
Twice now.
Yeah. Anyway,
10 bonus internet points for Mike.
Absolutely.
Any more on Tarantino?
No, only that I should I admit, yes. So what I want to watch, and I'm trying to get hold of a copy, is of the combined Kill Bill 1 and 2, the whole damn affair. I'm trying to get hold of a copy of that because I've heard it's a much superior film. Both put together with bits. The middle is quite different, so that's what I'd like to watch at some point soon. And obviously, I don't need to rewatch The Hateful Eight. Clearly.
That okay? Is that? I take it that's an official cut together.
So you can't get the official cut. So apparently there is a cut that was shown at Cannes. Tarantino has done a cut called The Whole Damn Affair that is both brought together with the middle being quite different. He has shown it on several occasions in a certain cinema in LA. I watched the thing Adam Savage was talking about it on his channel on YouTube, where he's been to see it. It's always there's a level of who you know, but you can buy tickets.
10 bonus points for Adam Savage. Then he's seen
always
something that other people haven't.
Infinite, just stupid bonus points for Adam Savage on a constant basis. To be honest, when you watch anything he's done, and also you can't stop watching him once you start. But yeah, so I'd like to watch that because I don't entirely agree with your anger around Kill 2. We've talked about it before, but I would be interested to see that difference. So there are fan cut versions of it from people who have seen it and have cut it, and apparently there's some good quality versions. I'm trying to get a hold of one.
So I would say anger is probably a bit of an exaggeration on my part. Kill Bill 1, I think, is a really well done film. I loved it to pieces at the cinema. I've watched it several times. Kill Bill 2, I think, is problematic. And I think it's a problem that could be solved by cutting it with Kill Bill 1. Because it feels like there's an extra half an hour that you could put at the end of Kill Bill 1 that would replace Kill Bill 2. I think it's a film that has an awful lot of almost wasted screen time in it.
Okay.
I don't know whether removing it would ruin the pace of the film, though, is the problem.
Now, I was never a fan of it when it first came out, either of them. I enjoyed the first one, but I really struggled with the whole concept and the two films and everything else. So, but I have since kind of rewatched them and got over that a bit, and I like them now. But I did struggle to begin with. I totally admit. I was a bit like, what is this? Just, I don't know, self-indulgent? I just really struggled with it.
Yeah.
That's similar to how you felt, but it just, yeah. But I kind of got over it, and I like them now. But I'm curious to see this combined cut if I can find a decent version.
Yeah. I mean, fan cuts are nothing new. I mean, they've been sort of going round forever. I mean, the one fan cut that I've personally seen was the Phantom Edit.
I have seen the Phantom Edit. I rather like the Phantom Edit.
Which, to be honest, for cutting out, what was it, like 7 minutes out of the Phantom Menace?
I thought it was more than that, but yeah.
No, it's not a lot. Well, of the theatrical run, which is an important distinction, because the DVD run of the Phantom Menace is this hideous, like, overblown thing which has an extra 20 minutes of pod racing and...
I'll stop you there and say my opinion on Phantom Menace changed dramatically when I became a parent. I understood what Phantom Menace was for once I wanted to introduce small people into Star Wars.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I still like, for my sins, the Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace is the gateway drug for parents wishing to brainwash their children into Star Wars. I actually... Even though there's an extra 20 minutes of pod racing, I like the extra 20 minutes of pod racing. But sitting there as someone who appreciates film, the Star Wars part of my brain goes, "This is amazing. There's a double-bladed lightsaber." But the film critic part of my brain sits there going, "My God, this film could lose half an hour." I do like Duel of the Fates at the end. That's just fantastic. I really love that. It's a superb piece of scoring, and anyone who denies that is an idiot. I mean, the music, and scene as well. The whole, it's very, very good.
Have either of you chaps got Disney Plus yet?
Yes. Oh, the Dave Filoni. Yes, okay. Dave Filoni had a really interesting discussion on the actual concept of the Duel of the Fates, in that it's not just about what happens on this planet. It's actually a duel about the fate of Anakin. Yeah, because fate of the galaxy. Yeah, because if Qui-Gon was the person who was starting to see the Jedi had become very much this kind of overbearing military, political entity, and he was trying to pull them back from that. But because he dies, Obi-Wan has to take care of Anakin. And you see a very different Anakin as a result. And it was a really interesting bit of conversation. I mean, Dave Filoni, a lot of people say, oh, he's reading too much into Star Wars. Like,
Oh no, he's amazing.
But
I
no-
worship anything he says.
given how much of time he spent talking to George Lucas and analysing the films and trying to get the information out of Lucas as to how would you do this, where would you go with this, what is the reasoning behind this, I trust him more than I do anyone else.
Oh yeah, totally. I agree with that. Yeah.
By the way, if anyone hasn't seen the whole of Clone Wars,
No, I haven't watched 7 yet. No, I haven't finished all of it yet. No, I'm watching it, but I haven't finished it yet. The children are catching up.
so definitely not going to spoil.
That's why I cut you off and babbled at you. Do not.
But the final the final 4-parter,
I've heard.
which could handily be edited into Revenge of the Sith, is a fantastically directed piece of animation in its own right.
I also rather like Revenge of the Sith. I like that movie. It's
I like the prequel trilogy. I have no problem with that. They are pulpy, slightly naff films, but that's what Lucas
Attack
was
of the
going
Clones could go and do one.
I-
Some very good. There's some bits of it, but the majority of it I just don't watch.
for. There's one bit which is the romance sequence in the middle, which is a bit kind of okay. We could do without this.
I don't mind the noir bits of Obi-Wan Kenobi once I realised that's what it was. Although it took me like 10 years to realise it was noir. You know, it was like, oh, I've got it now. He's being like Malone. Right, okay, I've got it now. But that took me far too long to realise that's what it's so like. Anyway, my least favourite Star Wars.
It's interesting. It's only in the last couple of years I've seen the full unedited version of Attack of the Clones, because that's still technically not available for purchase in the UK.
Oh, was it not?
Nope. In the UK version of Attack of the Clones, believe it or not, still has, I think it's 2 seconds cut out of it, which like is the most minor thing. It's
Is that when he's cutting sunflowers?
no.
Sure. Are you sure?
It's to do with a headbutt that takes place in the Obi-Wan and Jango fight.
Oh.
The BBFC decreed that because Jango was wearing a helmet when he did the headbutt, that it would be... I think they could have most of it in if they bumped it up an age rating, but they couldn't have the full thing at any age rating.
What, headbutt with a helmet on?
Yeah, BBFC are weird. It's like with wrestling and stuff as well. They're weird about people being hit with chairs. A lot of.
I don't think you're making a good case.
The BBFC. I mean, there is
weird when people being hit with chairs.
there's an infamous scene in a this is going too anime, admittedly, but there's an infamous scene in a Satoshi Kon series here, like Millennium Actress and Perfect Blue, where 3 people they formed a suicide club, and they're basically doing a suicide pact, but they are consistently failing at it. And it's a comedy episode of a series, which is kind of weird because it's a dark series though. And there's a scene where they light a charcoal brazier and try and suffocate themselves with carbon monoxide fumes, and that fails. And they go through several methods. One of the scenes, they try and hang themselves from the same tree, but the branch breaks and they end up rolling down a hill all tied together. The BBFC said this was unavailable at any age rating because it had people trying to hang themselves, and that was a copyable thing.
Have they? Oh, okay, because it's copyable. I was gonna say, have they not seen Evil Dead? It's much worse, but yes.
Yeah, as I said, the BBFC have an interesting set of guidelines to work within. Of note, if anyone is particularly interested in this, the BBFC does do a podcast that does go through and talk to a lot of the people who rate their films and talks to them about why certain things get certain age ratings, what is permissible, what isn't. My favourite story, and it's important that we're explicit for this. Someone called up the BBFC and said, "Look, I've got a show that's coming out in the UK. I want it to get this age rating. I don't know what the restrictions are on language. It's being dubbed at the moment. Can you just give me some guidelines on strong language?" And apparently this person with a very sort of posh accent came back with, "Oh yes, you can have 2 fucks, 1 bugger, but if you want a cunt, that's right out."
Yes, that's an old quote as well. That's been
And it's
That's yeah.
oh, this is someone I know personally who got it on the phone.
Oh, really? But I mean that almost word for word of I think I'm sure Peter Cook said something similar.
Yeah, they've been working off the same list of interesting words for the last however many years. Actually, for reference, for those who are international listeners, we probably have 2 or 3 still left. The BBFC, British Board of Film Classification, or censorship, depending on how far back you're going, they, as a mandatory thing, take in all films in the UK, provide them with an age rating, which then is a guideline to cinemas on who can see the film. It can be overruled by local councils, and sometimes there are some issues with it on video, but
Also, we have different ratings for video as cinema in this country.
they've been unified now.
No, they haven't. There's just
Oh,
12A
no.
on video.
I thought
Nonsense.
that had been
There's
reintroduced.
12. There's no 12A.
Okay.
There's no 12A because it's a nonsense, isn't it? It's a yeah.
Yeah, I know
They
that
are closer than they ever have been, but yeah,
they did take away UC, I think.
Yeah, because it's pointless, isn't it? Universal, but children can watch it. Wait, what's Universal?
Well, no, and it was universal, but especially for children.
Yeah. Disney's,
I think they have also disincentivized the use of the white triangle with an E in, which was exempt from classification, which they thought was too close to a lot of their ratings.
Yes, it's interesting, and I think the more harsh languages, more harsh swear words, you need to have really good justification or character justifications and positioning. Or the new Guy Ritchie has a lot of those words in, but there are people who would say those words, and that's the justification for it.
Well, to be honest, I mean, if we're going to get into a conversation of this nature, if you're going to put anything in a film, you have anywhere between like 80 minutes and 3 hours to tell a story. If you can't justify everything that's in there, why is it in there? So if you're going to use harsh language, fine. Just make sure it's appropriate.
One of the only films in recent times to have been refused classification by the BBFC was the Human Centipede 2, I believe.
Well, that's a good thing that it got refused.
One of the BBFC rules is around the use of violence and violence with no purpose. So you are essentially forbidden from just creating gore for the sake of gore.
Yeah.
So that was refused a rating on the basis that there was no plot, no purpose to the violence. I think they because that's the thing with the BBFC. It's not like, well, your film's not got a rating, or your film's got this rating. That's that. Filmmakers can go away, recut, refilm,
resubmit,
re-edit.
It does cost them. I will point out, it does cost them money every time they do this.
Yeah.
They do have to pay. I think one of the more interesting things as well is the fact that, having read the guideline, that there are things like you can get away with full frontal nudity at a PG, but it has to be justified by the film and in a non-sexual nature.
Yes.
So it's not like, oh no, there's a bad thing here, must be a 15. They do actually have some nuanced guidelines, and they are certainly a lot better than they were in the age of video nasty.
Yeah, very true.
Where I think Evil Dead was being refused classification, and there's stuff like was it Cannibal Holocaust as well, and
yeah, you're right. Evil Dead got refused release in the UK for quite a long time, didn't it?
Yeah. So. The BBFC, really interesting topic, and completely...
What a rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what we're here for. Quite frankly, if you didn't want a rabbit hole, you wouldn't be listening.
I'm not.
Very true.
Not the only one.
Okay, having finished our I was going to do the Tentin Quarantino thing, but having finished our Tarantino section, I think we should move over to Alex, who's been looking at the Oceans series.
Yeah, something a lot less serious.
Is that David Attenborough you've been watching?
Yeah, that's it. No, the George Clooney, Brad Pitt, et al. Remakes of the Oceans films. So far, it's just kind of something that's a bit more easy viewing, really, with myself and girlfriend, just of an evening, not really wanting to think about anything too much. Just put those on. they're interesting. It's kind of looking back on the way that they're shot and the way that the way they're filmed. It does harken back a lot to the films of the 50s and 60s, and you get very much. I mean, obviously, Kurt, you said yourself you're not a huge fan of the series, but
no, I like the first one. I like the original, and I was intrigued by what they did with the first one when they remade it and how they changed it. As in, quite dramatically, they took the name and one character, maybe two characters' names, and changed it. But conceptually, the concept is similar.
Yeah.
But then it kind of rambles off. I don't mind the second one. After the second one, I got rather bored. Although we'll come back. There's another one that's quite good, but we'll come back around to that.
So do you want to, Alex? Do you want to just quickly kind of refresh us on what the rough plot of the Ocean series is?
So Ocean's 11 is basically a plot to pull off a heist on 3 casinos at once. All their money's been stored in one vault. So the idea is to, if you take that one vault down, then you take all 3 and you can make off with the money. And it's obviously a lot of the film is the setup for that. It's quite clever in the way that it sets it all up, and you think it's going one way, and then there's a big twist at the end, and it's actually not been set up the way you think it has, but it's sort of, that's what they want you to think, almost. And the second one, having, well, I mean, I don't know, spoiler alert, having successfully pulled off the heist.
Oh my God, what a spoiler.
Film. Yeah, what a spoiler. What a spoiler. Having successfully pulled off the heist in the previous film, the person that they have stolen the money from is wanting to get said money back. So basically gives them 2 weeks to
wasn't the money insured?
The money was insured, but he wants.
Oh my God!
He wants his money back. He wants he wants to double his money. He doesn't care about the insurance.
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
So dramatic.
I'll try.
But yeah. So then they come up against another more sinister and equally as successful thief, cat burglar, who's a Frenchman of all things. And again, hijinks ensue, twists ensue. The way you think it's going isn't actually the way it is going. And again, at the end, they are successful in the heist. And again, I say, not seen it in a long time. Started watching the Ocean's 13, which is more of a revenge story than anything else, but also with a heist thrown in, because when in Rome.
Well, if it didn't have a heist, then quite frankly, it wouldn't be an Ocean's film. But well, it would be like having a Fast and the Furious movie without ridiculous cars. So
don't go there. Or Hobbs and Shaw.
I've still yet to watch that.
I don't want to. I watched too many trailers for it. It was advertised in cinema for like 6 months. I don't want to watch it. Leave me alone.
I quite like the Fast and the Furious series.
I don't hate them. I was surprised when I sat and watched them how much I enjoyed them, but we'll probably leave that for another time. Yeah,
that's another time. No, I many years ago now did watch Ocean's 11 because surprisingly that film's nearly 20 years old. I thought it was a perfectly good, nice, like, as you said, fluffy, brain off, just roll with it kind of fun film.
It is, but what more than that though? What I particularly enjoyed rewatching it as more of a mature adult, should we say? It is the more artistic element. Shut up, you. The more artistic element that they've gone for in it. A lot of the way that it's shot is quite sort of artsy, and it's not just direct, straight up. Here's where they are. This is where they're walking. You know, here's a camera panning along with them. These different sort of zoom shots, and it's. As I say, I think it harkens back to that sort of golden age, if you will, of cinema in the 50s and 60s, where there weren't visual effects, there weren't high quality cameras. It was all sort of done through manual camera work, and I think it's.
Well, I think an interesting comparison is the modern Italian Job is interesting because it's a remake of a 60s film as well. But it does have visual effects, and it doesn't quite achieve the same thing that Oceans does, where it tries to do a similar thing with a similar genre.
I know I've seen that film, and I have no memory of it whatsoever.
Best way, I think. The best way.
like-
Why would you want to replace that original film anyway?
The original Italian Job, I know I've seen all the way through. I loved it to pieces. It's a bit silly, but it works for what it is.
Yeah, very much.
I've also seen bits of the car sequences nicked off in other things, but
Yes.
that's a side point. Literally, they took the shots and just inserted them in other films.
Oh.
Yeah.
Isn't there a Mr. Bean where they nick the mini chase and stuff? And there's loads of rip-offs of the mini chase.
Oh, if by the way, if you want the most infamous one of those for just nicking things, you know the sequence in Terminator 2 where the Terminator is firing a minigun out of a building at police cars?
Yeah.
Stolen wholesale for a TV series where they literally just cut that sequence in with someone else having shots of the interior so they could show them with the minigun.
Okay. What was that? What show was that?
I can't remember what show it was,
okay.
but there are some YouTube videos that show it being done, and it is just the worst. Anyway, side point. So yes, Oceans. I mean, Oceans has an actually pretty decent director in Steven Soderbergh. So, if you go back through his history, Sex, Lies and Videotape, that's certainly on there. I've heard that, where are we? Erin Brockovich as well, also a very good film. It's got the Oceans series. Now, I have heard Logan Lucky is tremendous as well. That's one of his more recent ones. Only a couple
That's
of years
very
ago.
good. I like Logan Lucky. It was very good.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Which
There's always a quirky twist. They feel like mainstream movies, and he definitely has a homage in many of his films to the classic filmmaking, to the kind of not quite Hitchcockian, but that a classic style.
yeah.
But there's always a twist to his movies. There's always something a little bit quirky going on. Not like David Lynch or anything really weird, but just a little bit kind of off kilter, and I quite like that.
Yeah.
I do actually. I quite like Ocean's 8 as well, which is not a prequel as you might think it was. It's but I quite liked Ocean's 8, which was the Danny Ocean's sister getting her girlfriends together to go and do a job as well. It's just my eldest, who probably shouldn't have watched it, loves it, and yeah.
I've not actually seen that one. I've not seen the remake. Not
It's
the remake.
surprisingly
the
good.
Female.
Ocean's 13, I feel, is definitely the poorest of the trilogy, and I was expecting Ocean's 8 to go further down that, because often is the case with trilogies, they just get worse after a while, or sequels. But 8's good. I liked 8. It was a different twist.
I'm now looking at what the director of Ocean's 8 previously did, and that's an interesting set of stuff.
I don't know who directed it.
So it's Gary Ross,
Right.
who was the writer for Big, just
Oh.
out of nowhere, wrote and directed Pleasantville,
Oh, yes. Yep.
then directed the first of the Hunger Games,
Oh.
which I think is the best one of the series.
I'm not sure what I think about that.
Okay,
maybe.
fair enough.
Maybe. I like them all as a whole. I think they work well as a whole. So.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with you there, but I think I personally think the first one was the best one. But yeah, like coming from the guy who did Pleasantville, to then move on to the Hunger Games and Ocean's 8, that's a weird career path. Actually seems to have done more writing over time. With Big, wrote Lassie, the 1994 version of Lassie.
Dear God.
And, of course, Seabiscuit, which he wrote and directed.
Oh, wow.
So, there you go. That's an interesting one. I've not seen Ocean's 8, so I can't really pass comment on it.
I like it. I liked it. When we were looking at movie posters to get for decorating the new house, it was the first one on my eldest list for posters she wanted on her bedroom wall.
Oh, okay.
She liked it that much. She's 12, so maybe that is not a good benchmark, but it's good. I liked it. Better than 13? Is it better than 11? Is it better than 12? Maybe.
Just had a few internet issues there. Which one are we talking about there? Ocean's 8 still? Or are we
Yeah, Ocean's 8.
else? Okay. So your daughter's got an Ocean's 8 post.
Yes.
That is kind of cool. Yeah. So, I think the only movie poster I've got in my room at the moment is the Rogue One poster they gave out at Star Wars Celebration when we saw the trailer for the first time.
So I treated myself my office, not my living. Actually, I've got an Empire Strikes Back poster behind me in the living room, but in my office, I thought I'll get some frames and put some nice posters up. So I bought 4 movie posters for the wall, and there is a 5th one on the way. So I have the Dark Knight poster. I have a Blade Runner poster, not one of the original ones because I don't like the. We'll come back round to that.
Okay.
I've got, and I think there's a problem with them, and I think I'm guessing why. I've got a Rogue One poster, movie poster that has the sort of running onto the breach at the bottom, and the Death Star above it. The whole poster is quite grey. I quite like it because it sort of encapsulates every element of the film. And I have the Odeon twin poster from Endgame, which has the two posters that fit together, which has those that survived, who are in the beginning of Endgame.
Black and white versus colour, is it?
It's got a lot of red was black and white, yeah.
That is an interesting selection of posters.
Yeah, I kind of feel it's definitely has that whole. So, Endgame, I really like the poster more. I do like the Endgame, the movie, but
yeah,
I like the poster more than. But the other 3 are very much films that I love. The Blade Runner poster is not an original movie poster because they were all cartoony type posters, and I don't know if they didn't have permission to use Sean Young's image, because all of those posters, if you Google them, all those Blade Runner movie posters, she looks wrong in all of them, and I wonder if there was an issue with rights or something, because she just, it just for me they spoiled the posters. Like, even the original, they're mainly kind of quite drawn posters. And most of the other characters, all the other characters look fantastic, and she looks not quite right.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
doesn't look like her. Doesn't quite look like her. So I don't know if there was a rights issue. I don't know. But so what I've got is more of a photographic kind of.
So it looks like, and this is, bear with me here. In the 80s, there was this tremendous thing amongst video games of basically tracing movie posters and slightly altering characters to use for video game box art.
Yes.
Hence, like Contra uses like bits of, I think it's either Rambo or a Schwarzenegger film, but it's that kind of effect. It looks like they've traced them from another poster and altered them just enough to not be the original thing.
So I don't like it. Yeah.
It has the very interesting wording. I think it's the original poster of Harrison Ford is Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Which
that's an 80s thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Such and such is.
What I would say is that, just Googling Blade Runner poster, the one for the final cut is a lot better. That's much more.
It is.
That's photo based essentially.
And I did nearly get that. What I've got is similar to that. I don't think it is even the final cut. It might be the final cut one. I don't think it is. It hasn't got the blurry final cut at the top. It's a similar poster to that, and it's a bit cleaner. The one that hasn't arrived, which is maybe something I'd like to segue back to at the end, is for a film called Primer.
Okay.
Which is still on its way because it's got to come from China. Probably means it's not legit, but you know.
I see, now I have an urge to rewatch Blade Runner now.
Both of them.
And the sequel.
Can I make a confession?
Oh dear.
On, then.
I know this isn't not going to get me any internet points, but I've still never seen Blade Runner.
Okay.
What I would say is that you should, because
I think we should revisit that. That should be your homework.
Yeah. Let's give it some homework. Watch Blade Runner.
Let's all watch Blade Runner. Now,
so,
which cut? Of course, it's a difficult thing, but
this is the
let
thing.
your cut be your own choice.
This is what's always confused me, and what always kind of got me, is which cut should I watch? And whenever I've seen it, I'm like, well,
that is a question.
I don't know whether I should watch this because I don't know if this is the right cut to watch.
So,
and if I watch the wrong cut, is it going to ruin it?
I did watch the director's cut in the cinema when it was kind of re-released in the 90s. I didn't watch the original in the cinema. I always used to like the original cinematic release with the commentary with not the commentary, with the dialogue, the monologue, and I enjoyed that when I was younger. I enjoy the cinematic experience without it more. You get distracted from the music, from the fantastic imagery of the model work, the views, the cityscapes that are just fantastic. I don't know where you would want to watch it, because I'd want the experience that I had. So it's hard.
I started watching with the director's cut, which
Right.
ironically enough isn't a director's cut, but that's a whole other conversation.
Oh, don't even go there.
I only saw the original version when I got my Final Cut box set.
I believe that's the same one, buzz out of it, yeah.
I got 10 minutes into that and went, nope, can't deal with this. This is going off. I have never seen the version with the voiceover all the way through. I can't deal with it. Because it sits there and explains everything. It's like, no, I don't want you to explain what's going on. I want to listen to it, to like the environment. I want to see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the book, although the book and the film have the same sort of source place, but the Blade Runner is not a film version of the book in any regard.
It contains some similarly named characters.
No, I'd go further, and Deckard is the same character, and it even makes reference to him being the same character, and they throw lines in from it around his the financial, not greed, but his financial desires.
I'm going to move into a whole into a slight thing here, in that I think they are different characters, because in the film, you do not see the same pride from Deckard. Partially because you don't have the whole section with him trying to fix his sheep.
True, and you don't have. It doesn't.
By the way, if no one's read the book, this is going to be completely meaningless. He's
a lesser man in the book.
Yes,
he's a lesser man. He's not. But the Deckard in the movie. I like the little kind of comments that got thrown in that harken back to it. So must be expensive. There are the little kind of greed touches.
Yeah, okay.
But he's not obsessed. He's not obsessed by it. So I think it's the same. It is the same character, but you see a better side to him. It's a more positively written story. Because he's not a very likable character in the book. He's not very. It's hard. And I watched the film.
No, he basically spends the entire book being a terrible husband.
Yes, and trying to get off the planet and can't, and blah, blah, blah. And there's hints to that in the film, but they're hints. They're not the main core of the story. And back to Alex's point, I think I'd say the same. I'd say go to the director's cut. You could go Final Cut, but I think go to whichever one of those you can get.
I would say
access to.
Yeah, I would say there's little enough difference between them. And I know there are going to be people shouting at me over that one.
But I'm not, to be honest. I agree with you. I think there's such a small amount of difference for a first viewing. You're not going to know any difference between the two.
Yeah.
Fuck unicorns, you know?
No, that's in both.
Yeah, right.
It just is. But yeah, either director's or Final Cut, both perfectly acceptable. I fell in love with the director's cut, but I will now watch the Final Cut for preference. But it is marginal.
I watched the original cinematic probably for most of 10 years before I saw the director's.
I mean, I suppose the problem with there is with me having seen the director's cut first. That's my experience of the film. So to have that commentary placed on top makes it feel very different. Whereas you experienced it with the commentary first.
Yeah, as a kid as well. To an extent.
Yeah.
So my mum also likes Marlowe type esque noir. So, and she likes sci-fi. I grew up in a house where my mum was nuts for sci-fi. So she liked that noir Marlowe.
Yeah.
I can't think of another example. Esque commentary, monologue that all those have. So that was a positive influence on me. So I don't. Now I'd rather watch it without it.
Yeah.
I tried going back and watching it. It just seems tedious. I agree with you.
So just to interject there, so my favourite second-hand online reseller has the Final Cut at $4.89 on Blu-ray, or the director's cut for $1.99 on DVD. Which do you go for?
You're not going to see a huge difference.
I would go personally. I would go for the Blu-ray, but that depends on your TV setup. If you've got a nice Blu-ray player and a good TV, I would go for the Blu-ray.
Well,
So
I don't know if it counts as a nice Blu-ray player, but I've got an Xbox One, so.
Oh, I mean that's what I use as my Blu-ray player as well.
So my thinking, Mike, was the original format that's then been converted into these two videos. I don't think you'll see a huge difference between the two. So I'd favour Blu-ray, but I don't think you see a huge difference.
So if you're talking the original format that's being converted, and again we're going to go into very dark places here. If you're talking about proper cinematic film, projected film, because of the size that has to be projected to, the archival recommendation for that is roughly the standard that is now called 4K.
But you're being very... So you know as well as I do, you work in an IT environment, you work in a technical environment. I know that you're talking about theory, not practice.
Yes, but if you're talking about then moving to Blu-ray, okay, you're already losing 75% of what would be the archival quality. If you then move to DVD, you're then going to a quarter of that again.
Depending on what the transitional formats are.
Yes, rough numbers, I will say. Yes.
So I agree that obviously 480 or whatever, roughly the DVD quality is in modern terms, is crap in comparison. But when you take an old film and you put it on Blu-ray, put it on DVD, it's hard to see much difference.
I would argue that for film...
You should be correct. I agree you should be correct. I should agree with you. And I understand the science of what you're saying. I just find my experience is that you don't see much difference when you go pre-1990 or whatever you want to, where the dry line is.
Here, I'm going to bring up a favourite argument here. Okay. So I'm going to argue that films from before... I'm going to put a rough date on it of 1993.
Okay.
Benefit pretty hugely from Blu-ray.
I agree that it should.
Because those were filmed with the intention, mainly, of being shown on cinema screens, and they were using largely practical effects.
Yes.
Once you move post, 92, 93, and you're dealing with...
Post-Jurassic Park. Let's go with that as a line, isn't there?
Something around that, and you're dealing with mostly digital effects that are targeted a lot at home video... You start seeing things like film stocks that are utter crap. So the worst one for me, I love the movie Stargate. I adore it. I've bought it on Blu-ray. It is the worst transfer I have ever seen from film to Blu-ray. It is mind-bogglingly bad. Everything about it looks flat and terrible, and it's not the same film. You watch some of the special features as well. They look like they've been ripped from VHS.
Yep.
It's appalling. Now, after a certain point, when they go, oh, hang on, we've got DVD, and our computer effects are getting good enough that we can do this properly now, you start moving out of that valley of the terrible Blu-ray. But I would say there is a good 10 to 15 years where movies of that era just do not move well to Blu-ray. Before that, black and white film stocks, moving up to your early colour and right through till certainly most of the 80s, you get really good transfers as long as they don't post-process too much, and that is a whole other...
So
point.
that's where I'm that's my argument is, yes, I don't disagree with the principle of what you've just said. I agree that you should get pure proper analog film. If it's mastered properly, straight to Blu-ray, you should get much better. Totally agree. You should. But in an awful lot of cases, especially when you start talking about 90s DVDs, anything that came out in Blu-ray early on or came out in DVD early on, you end up with a digital master that then gets transferred to Blu-ray, and you end up with a film that doesn't look great.
And you're talking about things like dynamic noise reduction, which is the devil.
Oh, loads of different nonsense stuff where you start. Yeah. So in principle, totally, you should get. It's a Wonderful Life should be one of those amazing things that transfers to Blu-ray. The reality is that in some cases where they've done different things with it, it doesn't look amazing. For example, so it is. Yes, but yeah, interesting debate. But yeah, I agree with the principle. Yeah,
there are cases, but I think for going back onto a topic from long ago, Blade Runner, especially the final cut, is one of those ones where they would probably have done a proper transfer because they knew the sort of person who was going to buy that box set.
You mean you? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, fair. So it's like I said, personally, I would go for the.
So I think we should all watch it. I think we should all watch. So the final cut. That's what we're going to. That's what we're going to review next time. I think that's the plan.
Yeah. I will of course also watch. I always forget the number. Is it 2049? I think it's 2049.
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember.
The Blade Runner sequel is 24.
Well, you got cut off there, so it's Blade Runner 24, which gives me an entirely different impression of that film.
Yeah, no, 2049.
Okay.
2049 is the Blade Runner.
Is that not a John Cusack film?
I think I know the film to which you're referring.
See, I really like John Cusack as well. It's unfair.
Is that 2401?
2012 or whatever it's called, yeah. I don't know. Awful disaster movie when they have to face it.
Oh, no, sorry. We were even thinking of different films there. So you're thinking of the film 2012.
I think so, yeah.
Which is, again, the bad disaster movie.
So bad.
I'm thinking of... I need to find the thing now. Where's the easiest way to...
Alex, did you say? Because you hear he used his keyboard sound effect again. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
It's like when Homer types in Simpsons. It's not, it's Foley artist at work.
For those in the know, I have a mechanical keyboard. It's great, but it does make a lot of noise. I'm trying to find the name of this film. There we go. It was There you go. It's 1408. I was thinking.
Oh, that's the room with the horror film with Samuel L. Jackson. Yes.
Yes.
I love that film. I really like that film. It's getting the crap out of me.
I went in that expecting just to think it was an absolute just pile of garbage.
Oh, it's good. I love it.
And then I got 10. Then I got 10 minutes in and went, "Oh no, actually, this is quite good."
I think I need to leave because it's going to scare me. Yeah.
I didn't get scared by it, and by the way, the multiple endings to it just so good.
I don't know why. I think it's supposed to come at a similar time, but I quite like The Raven, which is not in any way related, except it's John Cusack doing a horror-esque type thing where he plays Edgar Allan Poe, helping the police investigate crimes. It's like take Castle and send it back 100 years. It's great.
This is just reinforcing my thing that John Cusack just takes weird stuff because he can.
Sometimes he does weird stuff, and then he does 2012, and then he does weird stuff, and then he does another one, and then he does his whole career is that way. If you look at it, he does interesting indie weird stuff, which I think is fantastic, and he does some mainstream thing. And you got to go, well, you're good, but what is this film?
I mean, 2012 just it's such a bad film.
It is,
but
so
I enjoyed portions of it, but it's so bad.
Well, the ending credits, yes, I like those too.
Actually, yes. Anyway,
so it's interesting that we evolved in homework because I was gonna go there anyway, but clearly I like the way we organically come to homework with our Blade Runner, which is very cool. I like it.
Yeah.
So what I was going to do was segue into the poster that I've ordered for that purpose, but I think we should come back to that next time almost. But yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because I've ordered the poster for a film called Primer, which is a Shane Carruth film, which I'm ridiculously huge fan of.
Well, tell you what, we will come back to the next time, and that's good.
Yeah.
That is an awkward conversation if ever I've had one.
We're not going to segue into Upstream Colour. That's way too big.
Oh.
I've watched that film about 3 times, and I do not know what it's about.
I've bought it. I need to watch it.
I don't know what it's about. I don't get it. I want to, and I like it. I like it. I just don't know why.
Well, let's segue into the film that I watched.
Yes, do.
One of the films I watched, because I watched several.
Yeah.
So I picked up the Gareth Edwards 2010 film Monsters. This is set in an Earth that is after some kind of alien invasion or incursion, or it's not a virus. Although that said, and it purely deals with a journalist who is trying to get essentially the person he works for trying to get their daughter home. And in the way is the quarantine zone. And it goes about as well as you'd expect it to. It's a very interesting film in that it was the Gareth Edwards film that he did before Godzilla. So very much, even though it's titled Monsters, it doesn't really focus on the monsters themselves. It's more the threat of them being there, or what they're doing in the background, or how society has evolved alongside them. That it's talking about, and I mean, I really enjoyed it to the point where it's 94 minutes long, and right at the end, I had to sit there and go, I need to watch the first 10 minutes again, because
You've made me want to watch it again.
Yeah, because it does something very interesting. It has a neat little callback right at the end that, if you're paying attention, changes the tone of the film completely.
Oh, okay.
Because if you don't remember the start of the film, the ending goes one way. If you do remember the start, the ending goes a completely different way.
I'm going to have to watch this again. So I don't know what you're referring to. I'm going to have to watch it. I like it a lot. I liked it a lot.
I mean, interestingly enough, I have read upon some of the background of the filming, in that a lot of it was done with basically the entire crew in the back of a van filming on very short notice, without permission in certain places, and for what they achieved with that, it's absolutely incredible. It tells a good story in 90 minutes that is, good and complete. It's a cheap film, but the effects do not look cheap.
No.
And yeah, it looks like a great independent movie.
You might not agree with this, but I'd say the nearest thing is probably Cloverfield.
Actually, yeah, I would not disagree with that. It's very much in the same vein.
And I like the little found footage bit right at the end of Cloverfield, in the middle of the credits, where you see the beginning right at the very end as well.
Yes.
Not in the same way you've just described. It's not a twist in any respect.
Yeah.
And it kind of segues into Cloverfield paradox in a weird, forced way, kind of. But it's in and of itself, if you ignore the side sequels that go on, because I like them, but if you just go Cloverfield of itself,
Cloverfield is very much a name that they attach to films that are, like, tangentially they have alien-ish things in them, and that's about it. That's kind of all that there is for that series.
Yeah, they kind of changed both the other films, and yeah, but yes, you're not entirely wrong. Yeah, but I like the film itself. I like the because it's so up close and personal with massive things going on in the background in the same sort of way, isn't it? It's good.
I mean, just incidentally, there's only 2 years difference between Cloverfield and Monsters.
Is there?
Yeah, Cloverfield was 2008, Monsters was 2010.
I didn't know that. Wow.
So, I mean, Cloverfield, at the time, I think got a bit of a bad rap, because a lot of people were like, oh, it's made me feel ill, and like...
Oh, because the jerky camera kind of business.
Like, I mean, I get it. If you're motion sick, you're motion sick, and that's fine. I watched that film and had a good time. Again, it is only 85 minutes. 85 minutes, and tells a nice, complete story that you don't need any more of, and also does the great thing a lot of the time of not showing you the monster.
I'd like to see J.J. Abrams do more films like that, original content, kind of even more Cloverfield movies, but original content that are not reboots, not reimaginings, not our childhood sci-fi brought to the new century. They are just, I'd like to see new material like that. I watched Super 8 with my children, segueing slightly recently because I realised it is 12, and I've seen it before and really enjoy it, and I really like that. I mean, in the same way.
I mean, you say it's J.J. Abrams, but he was a producer on it, and that is a very important thing. But if you look at who's actually the people behind it, it was Matt Reeves and Drew Goddard.
Oh.
So Drew Goddard, who has since gone on to write, let's have a quick look, The Martian, Cabin in the Woods. We'll gloss over some of Lost. But I mean, actually, if you go through his history, Drew Goddard, Buffy.
We'll come back to Jeff Loeb in a big way another time.
But if you look at some of his history, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, Alias, like this is a person with a good, solid record in writing TV. Then moved on to Cloverfield, Cabin in the Woods, The Martian, The Martian, which is in my top 10. Then went on to write the earlier episodes of the Daredevil TV series.
Okay.
So, like, he's got a good record between him. Matt Reeves, on the other hand, is the guy behind the Planet of the Apes movies.
New ones, yeah.
Yeah, as well as the upcoming Batman film, which I have concerns, but we'll see how that one goes.
Do you know what? I was convinced that J.J. Abrams had directed Cloverfield.
No,
you're right.
It's weird. J.J. Abrams directs far fewer things than you think he does, but his name gets attached to them because it brings people in, because they're convinced that either there's going to be some sort of twist or mystery box or some kind of weird stuff going on. And he directs far less than you think he does.
16 movies according to IMDb. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, I would say I do enjoy his stuff. For good or for ill, he has done some really good films. Not all of them brilliant, but I'm
a big fan of Super 8. I thoroughly enjoy, and I'm a big fan. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, Super 8. Although that's another one kind of in that vein again. I mean, it's more of an 80s. If I said sort of the 80s like group of kids movie.
So in the same way that Stranger Things is the current big thing around this. Yeah. Which you know what I watched also with my children recently was E.T. And I always thought that Stranger Things borrows from it in a big way. A lot of Stephen King, a lot of Stand By Me, and Dreamcatcher, and all those Stephen King films where he references adults with children, and you kind of get that a lot with Stranger Things. Going back to watch E.T., oh my God, E.T. is like the archetype for Stranger. It's like the jumping off point for Stranger Things. It's really good, and yeah, it's a similar kind of feel, isn't it? It's that kind of kids in the 80s, and no, 79. It's set in 79, not even 80, but yes.
I mean, I get where you're coming from. I just hate E.T.
Oh no, I don't hate E.T. at all. No,
I think I have issues with some of Steven Spielberg's films.
Maybe we should come back to that, definitely, because I'm not. So I've been through ups and downs with Spielberg, and I think some of his films are some of the best films that have ever been made, but not all of them.
I would certainly agree with that. I think that's a good one to have like a half-hour conversation on the films of Steven Spielberg. Not that I think it is popular at the moment to really kind of shit on stuff he's done. He has done some amazing films.
Yes.
And I will not take that away from him, because some of his films are still some of my favourites of all time.
Very much.
Like, if there's ever a point where Jaws leaves my top 10 films of all time...
No, it can't. Like, it's so good. It's still so good. I mean, we've just been talking about... actually, we haven't. That's not even him, is it? I was going to go... J.J. Abrams, but it's not. It's a different director. Bad Hat Harry Productions, which isn't him at all, is it? It's what's his face that does X-Men. But it's a Jaws line. It's just Jaws is so good, always repetitively.
Yeah, and
that's with a crappy rubber shark. Imagine how good that would be with really good effects.
I actually think it would have been a worse film. I think
they had to cut it all out, didn't they? Yeah, it's better.
And whenever you've got to spend more time with Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw,
Richard Dreyfuss,
yes. Whenever you've got to spend more time with them, just acting on screen, you've got a better film.
This is really good.
Yeah, and the whole thing about Robert Shaw. I mean, it's one of the infamous movie speeches of all time. Robert Shaw talking about the sinking of the Indianapolis.
Yeah.
That speech, even when I was like 8 years old, watching that movie for the first time.
Who let you watch that when you were 8?
Let me watch it. I didn't sleep as a child, so I got to watch all these late night movies.
Do you know what's really bizarre? I mean, our age difference is even less consequential as we get older, but I was probably watching the same films that you were at the same time.
Yeah. It's like, this is...
Late Night BBC One used to show some amazing movies.
Yeah, that's exactly where I saw the 1930s King Kong for the first time.
And Alex Cox late on a Sunday night as well. Amazing. Used to be amazing. On BBC Two, used to be fantastic movies.
But yeah, I just... yeah. Jaws, always one of my favourite movies.
Yeah, mine too.
But
yeah, well, I'll argue with that. I won't argue with that at all. Definitely, always one of my top 10 movies. It's fantastic.
But have you seen The Meg?
Yeah, no, I did not finish it. I can't. I can't. I started it. Do you know what? My children have freaking watched that. Not in my house. For crying out loud. So bad.
I love The Meg for completely different reasons. It's a dumb film. It's really, really like dumb as a box of rocks.
I can close the loop back to the beginning of this conversation. I really like Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, now there's an interesting one. Which
I really like.
Again, the running theme of this evening: Samuel L. Jackson.
It's just, I like it. Samuel and Thomas Jane, before anybody knew who he was at all. He's just so good. And LL Cool J being awful and lovely. It's really good. I love it. It's just so, it's hammy, like you were just saying, but in a much better way. It's just really good. Silly, hammy, really good.
I do remember going to see that movie at the cinema with some school friends, and yeah, we had a good time.
It was one of the first DVDs I ever bought.
Ooh, now there's an interesting bit of conversation.
Well, I bought DVDs when they were new.
I bought them as soon as the the Tesco special DVD player went down to £170.
No, I bought a DVD player quite early on. That was a weird grey import.
ThinkAd, was it? The first ones were.
There was a very limited selection when DVDs were first released, and I know what my earliest DVDs were.
It was a James Bond film. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Oh, the title was gone from... No, it was after Goldeneye. It was the one after Tomorrow Never Dies.
So my first DVDs were Region 1 DVDs. So for next time, I could collect them, because they're still on my shelf, even though I can't watch them. And I can have a stack of my Region 1s. There's probably about 10 Region 1s that I bought on my first DVDs.
Sorry,
I know about half of them off the top of my head.
I need to hand back my license as a James Bond fan, because I've completely forgotten the name of a James Bond film.
Here's another one then, on a James Bond theme. Alex, have you managed to get your children to watch any James Bond and enjoy it?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, not me. Oh, I've read that you should start with things like Goldfinger and early ones. That there's a list of early ones that, and Roger Moore especially, it comes up in the list of things that they might enjoy. But I can't engage mine with it as a concept at all. And you can't watch the new ones because they're like 15s, 18s, or 15s, not 18s, but yeah. Have you tried? I've tried a bit.
It's a series that, the more I think about it, it just wouldn't appeal to modern kids.
Except we used to watch it because it was on every Sunday or bank holiday. Like today, there would have been a Bond in the afternoon. It probably was today, but I didn't look. But because they can choose to watch what they want, they don't choose to watch it.
I mean, I will say I did start with the Roger Moore films.
Oh yeah.
And it was only after a while that I went, oh, these are bad. These
I still love them, but
these are all bad. And then went on to the Connery ones and went, yes, this is what I want.
I think we have to agree to differ on Spy Who Loved Me. I still love that film, but yeah. But
go on.
I will not defend other Roger Moore, but I do love The Spy Who Loved Me.
I mean, The Spy Who Loved Me is essentially a remake of From Russia with Love? With bits of You Only Live Twice kind of tacked on in places.
I can see Russia with Love. I can see what you mean about having the spy thing.
Yeah, it's...
And Live and Let Die is good, but then
sorry. No, that one I will not give you. Live and Let Die is terrible.
I think I do. Yeah, the only one I would even vaguely defend is The Spy Who Loved Me. It's but I don't know how you can't get. My children are just not interested. They just like, and they watch all kinds of stuff, but they're like, why?
The more I look at it, the more I think that perhaps the time has passed for Bond.
Perhaps it has. Perhaps it needs to die its lonely and sad death.
I mean, I will say I do still love the films. I watched and enjoyed Spectre.
Yeah, me too.
I loved Skyfall. I'm even one of the 4 Quantum of Solace apologists. I won't say it's a great Bond film, but I had a conversation with someone who is determined. It's like, no, it cuts too fast. You cannot tell what is going on at any point during the car chase sequence at the start. And I went, okay, right. Bring up the car chase. Watch 90 seconds of it that you don't understand, and then I will watch the same 90 seconds and tell you what happened. And did exactly that. They sat there, couldn't tell a thing that was going on. I watched it and went, okay, they did this, then they went over here, and then there was a police car that got involved, and then they got run off the road, and then this happened, and they just sat there and went, how can you get that from that?
Yeah, I think that my
I watched the screen.
With James Bond, I think as a character he's just completely unrelatable. I think that for me, I can't relate to him in any capacity as a character.
Okay, I mean you're saying he's unrelatable. What was your experience with the Bourne movies?
I was going there as well. That's where my brain was going to.
Never seen them.
Interesting.
That it doesn't really appeal to me because. Again, it's all kind of, I don't know, it just feels a little bit unrelated. I mean, I guess the Bourne, I think I've seen the first Bourne one, which is
Go on, say you don't remember it. Go on, say you don't remember it. Go on.
Well, yeah, I don't really remember it massively. It's fairly unmemorable, but I suppose in a way he is, at the start of the film at least, he's kind of lost alone and a little bit frightened, almost.
Yeah,
he does, and that makes him relatable. Whereas James Bond is always so kind of.
Bourne was where I was going in my head as well, where you've got a more modern kind of concept, but
that they then did literally borrow for the reboot with Casino Royale.
Yeah,
and they tried to take as many things as they could whilst still keeping Bond, and I think partially. He is always going to be unrelatable because of the necessity of him being, he's got to be the super secret agent. He's got to be the ultimate ladies' man. But it depends from then on which bits of Bond you focus on. Is he the much warmer, friendlier, cuddlier Roger Moore, or is he the more manipulative and cold-hearted
Timothy
Daniel
Dalton?
Well. I mean, yes, to an extent.
Oh, I was being silly, but I enjoyed it.
No, Dalton was playing much more the Bond from the books.
Yes, much more serious. He was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was being silly because I knew you weren't going there. That's why I cut.
Yeah, well, I was going for Daniel Craig, but I
know
mean,
you were.
yours equally worked.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, the whole thing is that, as Goldeneye said, he is a little bit of a relic of the Cold War.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if given control of a movie studio, several $1 billion, and all the movie stars in the world, I actually probably would reboot Bond back to the Cold War, because if you can still make films like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, part of the whole Smiley's People series, then why not put a secret agent back into the Cold War? It's it's not an impossible thing. I fear we've veered off here, but
no, I like it's good though. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he can work in the modern day, but modern day techno thrillers are a world away from where Bond came from, and it depends on what you're looking for, I guess. So
yeah, and I think we're going to go different places with that as a concept go forward, aren't we? With the kind of the secret wars that I think we're on the verge of as well. I think that's what we're gonna come into, especially there is a consequence to the virus and everything else that's currently going on. And I think that's probably what it is that we are going to have. If we're not going to have outright war, because everyone's keen to avoid that, that's where we're going to go in a real sense. So and that leads to fear and films that exemplify that. Thinking about the 70s, which is not a direct parallel, but that's what came out of those kind of fear, poverty-driven times. You get really good hard-edged cinema.
You end up with basically a combination of things like every
Gene Hackman.
I was going to go for every Gene Hackman thriller from the 70s. Yes.
Yeah, it is. I agree. It is. It is, and very good as well, and very, very good films like Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, which you have a comedy actor playing dead serious like cop. It's just really good.
Well, it has had a remake. I was going to say
it's awful. It's not awful, but it's nowhere near as good. The original's such an amazing piece of cinema.
Which I sadly have not seen.
Do you know why I saw it? This is great.
Okay,
I'm almost ashamed, but I'm happy about this. So the reason that I watched Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3 is that it's a Beastie Boys lyric.
Okay.
On Ill Communication, I'm sure it's an Ill Communication. They quote Ad Rock, I'm sure, says it's like the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. And I was like, what's that? Googled it and immediately wanted to watch it before the remake was made.
Oh,
have you watched the Beastie Boys documentary on Apple TV?
No, but I've read the book and listened to the audiobook. So I'm familiar with I know what it is. It's an expansion of it, but no, I haven't watched it. It apparently is in a third medium of the same story. But I've got the book. The book's amazing.
I've not watched it yet. I am going to watch it at some point.
It's fantastic. It's really good. You'll learn so much. I saw them interviewed about it, and it is a different version again of the same thing.
Now that I'm looking up the original Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Walter Matthau, isn't it? Is the kind of transport cop?
Yeah, it's Walter Matthau, and then second on the list, Robert Shaw.
Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw is kind of John Travolta's character. It's just so much better.
I mean, again, I'm just going back. He generally improved anything he was in. Mm-hmm. Including From Russia with Love.
So it's thrown me because I did not know he was in that. Or I'd forgotten.
Yeah. He is Red Grant.
Wow.
He's the assassin on the train.
Wow. I mean, closer to Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3 in time. I love The Sting. It's obviously set a lot earlier, but I think same year or year before or after. I love The Sting. It's just awesome. It was a lovely film.
Well, Pelham 1, 2, 3 is a year before Jaws. And
is it? Is it only? Oh.
And the
Sting
is the year before that.
Yeah.
So 73, 74, 75.
Nice.
So.
Well, obviously I wasn't born. Obviously.
Yes, absolutely.
Quite.
Yeah, there we go.
What year is this? Like 1980 or 70?
Yes, Alex. Yes, Alex. Yes. Thanks, Alex. Checks in the mail. Yeah.
Good Lord, he played Churchill as well.
Did he?
In a film called Young Winston.
Oh my god. Okay.
He played. Oh, sorry. He played Lord Randolph Churchill.
Oh, like his father or something.
Yeah. But yeah, just going back through Robert Shaw,
Oh, it's
just
awesome.
ridiculous, like list of stuff.
But I think it's about Gene Hackman. I've what did I watch recently? It was like, just so many really good 70s, 80s Gene Hackman movies. Before you get silly, there's so many really, really good, gritty 70s-esque. Some of them made early 80s, but so many.
Yeah, Gene Hackman again, great actor. Linking back to earlier, just watched Crimson Tide, where he was playing
Oh yeah,
the elder captain, and did a really good role of being that dinosaur of the Cold War who was, ready to shoot at a moment's notice, versus Denzel Washington's sort of much younger XO.
Well, I watched something, an old movie. I'll come back to it next time when I work out what it was. When I watched it, I went, wait a minute, Crimson Tide is a remake of this.
Ooh.
But I can't think what it was. I'll go back and find out what it was. It made me think Crimson Tide was a reimagining, not necessarily a remake, but a reimagining of the same story of the whole kind of, something about submarine movies, the whole claustrophobia, the inescapability, it's hard to quantify. I think they translate well to some of the sci-fi movies, things like not Interstellar. I was going to go for Event Horizon, but there's a few others around it that are less horrific, but are just claustrophobic. And
if you want the sci-fi submarine movie, go for the one that I've rewatched recently, which is Wrath of Khan.
Oh yeah,
which
I
is
watched it not long ago as well.
The entire back half of that film was based off watching submarine movies, because you get this whole scene of like the two ships crossing over each other at different heights in space.
Where there's the comment, isn't it? His thinking suggests two-dimensional approach. Yeah, his tactics imply two-dimensional thinking, and therefore they go, just change the z-axis.
Yeah, and how. It's the first time in a few years I'd watched the director's cut of Wrath of Khan, which at one section did bring a tear to the eye, because
it's good. It's really good.
It explains something that in the original cut of the movie you never see. In the dying ensign halfway through the movie is Scotty's nephew.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it's explained in the when they're doing the inspection at the start.
That's moving moment anyway. That's because all the cadets full of cadets, isn't it? It's full of new trainees and
and it's the whole thing of in the director's cut. You actually get to see the fact that that's Scotty's nephew. Then in the scene where all the trainees are running away, he genuinely does stay there and try and help. And then it explains why Scotty is so broken that he brings him to the bridge and not sickbay.
Yeah.
And it's Wrath of Khan director's cut is a fantastic
I don't think I've seen that. I thought I had, but clearly I haven't.
No, if you've not seen it, there's a couple of odd moments in there as well that I sat there going, I feel you've held that shot about a second too long and it's gone weird. But it does an awful lot very right as well, and fixes a couple of dead end bits of plot. So there you go.
There's we've talked about it before. There's a YouTube channel that I'm a big fan of, which is called Filmjoy. The YouTube channel is called Filmjoy. There's a program on it called Movies with Mikey, and he's done I think 2 parts to this, like essays, 2-part. Quite long pieces about Star Trek. You should watch them. They're very, very good. It's just about how kind of haphazard the entire thing was in general, and something that we all learn as we get older, whether everyone who's listening or you guys have come across it yet, that for the most part, no one knows what they're doing in life in any regard. You could become quite an expert in a field, and most of it's still blag, and that's very true of how Star Trek happened, why it happened. If you ever read or even read about Leonard Nimoy's book, I think it's called I Am Spock, isn't it? It's just very much of how he almost walked away from it early on, how he didn't want to do it, how he thought it was his wife talked him into it, and he was short of work and he was doing Western bits as TV shows, and just how the whole thing fell together, and when it became a movie, it was about how to stop Gene Roddenberry destroying it on a regular basis. It's really, really good. And even better, more recently, he's done a really good show about Zach. It's lovely.
Oh, if you want to find out about Gene Roddenberry almost destroying things, I mean, don't get me wrong, he got the show off the ground. He gave it this wonderful, positive future where it was a utopia, which I would argue we probably need a little bit more of in Star Trek right now, but that's a different point. No, that when it got to Star Trek: The Next Generation, and he was trying to hold it to impossible values, and they literally had to try and marginalize him and kick him off the show.
Yeah.
It was incredible because they were working.
Where you were going there? When because obviously I'm assuming you're referring to Picard.
It's more than just Picard. It's more of a bearing theme, but specifically
I enjoy Discovery, but I thought going back to Wrath of Khan, did you watch all of Picard?
I did watch all of Picard, yes.
So I thought you did. So when he's trying to find Dr. Maddox, I was like, wait a minute, isn't that the name of the Doctor and her son in Wrath of Khan? Isn't that where they're going with this? Is that going to be Maddox's grandson? Or something?
That's Marcus.
Dr. Marcus. Oh, it is, right, yeah.
Yeah, Carol Marcus. No, Bruce Maddox was the scientist who wanted to dismantle Data in the Star Trek: The Next Generation episode Measure of a Man.
Right.
Which, for various reasons, they had to change the actor for, and I kind of agree with their reasoning on that one.
Oh, okay,
bedtime yet?
Sorry, we're keeping you awake, Alex.
You want to segue into a bedtime film now, do you? I'm not sure I want that kind of content on the show.
I'm not going to lie. I make no bones about. I make no. Don't disguise the fact that I have no love for Star Trek. So this conversation is just
well,
thrilling.
Tell you what, we'll start a bit of a wrap up.
We've got homework. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
We've got homework.
No, we've got some.
I've gone by Blade Runner now, don't I?
We've got some homework. Any other films that people have got their eyes on for the next few weeks to have a watch of?
Actually, saying that, we talk about films we've watched recently. We watched the 3 extended cuts of Lord of the Rings yesterday.
Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, that's a day.
That's a day.
It is a day.
Literally a day.
It started at about 11 a.m. I think it was about 11. And we had a bit of a break between each film, and I had a Zoom call to go on after 2 towers, but we finished about 1:45 in the morning. We were both absolutely shattered.
Was that a work Zoom call?
No.
I was going to say, without talking about who you work for, I'd be shocked.
Not on a Sunday, it wouldn't be. It's Sunday of a bank holiday weekend. Good Lord.
No, it was a social call.
Fair enough.
Who were misses.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing I was mentioning to Kurt earlier as well, before we came on to record today, I went over to pick up a load of boxes of my stuff from my exes. I'm not going to beat around the bush about it. But yeah, inside that, I've got loads of old Confrontation miniatures.
Cool.
Loads of old Inquisitor miniatures, the 55s. Tons of books, old books. Actually, looking at the moment at the. I don't know if you remember this game or know of this game, Void, by a company called iCore. Their catalogue from 2000 to 2001.
I remember the box. I remember the logo. I don't remember the game.
And oh boy, does it bring back some nostalgic memories.
Oh, cool.
I mean, some of the miniatures are pretty cool. Some of the miniatures are not.
Oh.
Let's put it that way.
Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, they're all fairly low detail. Pretty flat. Very, very much of their era, I would say. But yeah, they were a thing. Oh, and at the back as well, said double up. You've got Keltos as well, which was a like a fantasy range that they made, which actually does have some pretty nice miniatures in that range. It'd still be, I mean, again, it's a definite style, but I think a lot of them were sculpted by Kev White, who does Hassle Free. I think got sort of the look of a lot of his stuff anyway.
However, none of this answers the question. Anything you plan to watch other than Blade Runner?
No. Ocean's 13. We'll finish watching that at some point, I'm sure. Much to your chagrin, but
I look forward to your updated opinions on how you're feeling about that series afterwards.
Yeah, we'll see.
Kurt, any plans for you?
I'd like to watch Primer again before we talk again. I think that would be another good kind of self-set homework, because that film changes every time I watch it.
Oh, I might have to do the same, actually.
Alex, if you can find Primer, watch Primer as well.
Primer, as in what you spray on miniatures?
Yeah, that's the one. It's a movie called that, yes. For me, that film has changed quite dramatically every watch. Even though we've got past, I suppose I've been watched it nearly 10 times, and it has leveled off. There's definitely something changes every time. But the fourth time of watching, I'd say, was a full-on horror, which is just the weirdest experience for something that before and after wasn't.
Primer.
Yes.
It seems not to be available on any streaming services. Well, any legal streaming services, should I say. Amazon turns up makeup things. Let's change categories. How do we do that now? Category.
Good. Alex learns to use Amazon.
Yeah, that's it. DVD and Blu-ray. Primer DVD.
I'll see if I can put you in my family on Google. It's on there. So.
Oh, thanks. Is it? You say horror? Is it like?
No, it's not. But no, it's not. But there's a level of realization to. I would say for me, it was the fourth time I watched it, where it was frightening because of the depth of realization. First time watching, no, I remember. So I came across it through Twitter. I worked in lots of different circles of people on Twitter, and I used to use it a lot, as you both know. I used to use Twitter a massive amount. I use it less now, but still some. And it was recommended through a strange combination of people and a conversation, and I found it, started watching it, and I remember pausing it halfway through to get a drink and getting back on Twitter and going, all right, I'm halfway through Primer. I can see it's not quite linear. I can't tell you how. And they were like, oh, keep watching. And I watched it, and then as soon as I finished watching it, I wanted to watch it again, because you kind of go, because it unravels as you go along.
Yeah.
And a second time does not entirely help, nor does a third. And a fourth did things that I wasn't expecting, and after that it leveled off to an extent. But every time I watch it, there's still more to it, and there's more things that kind of I go, really? What? Wait a minute, what? Because you bring forward the learning from the previous watching, and it does different things. And I don't think that was the intention of the director. Having listened to commentary and read interviews with him, this level of complexity or unraveling wasn't quite the intent. But he doesn't make straightforward movies. He's only made 2, but let's not go to the second one. Let's watch 2. We did that earlier. Let's just leave that one alone for a future time. But Primer, I think even for a first viewing, is just interesting. It's just a fun sci-fi, low budget, just really good film.
It's one of those films. It does not stop to explain itself, and it will take you a good. Well, it'll take you a good 10-15 minutes to realise, oh, that's what they're talking about. You just have to kind of. These two people are talking, but they're using. The way they're using terminology, you have to sit there and assemble the pieces yourself as to what they're actually talking about, because you don't have like the context of these two people working together for X amount of time beforehand.
No, because there's a monologue that happens that is one of the characters, and I think that's where I learned most each time of watching it. Really, is understanding more of what he means and how early the story starts. That's the bit that shocked me. I think that's the fourth. When I watched it the fourth time, I realised how far back the story goes, and I found it shocking, and I did find it I felt it felt like I was watching a suspenseful horror movie the fourth time, but not the first time, and not the second time, and not the third time. It was just interesting, and it didn't. Generally, I'm not joking. It's not. There is nothing scary in it. There's nothing. Nobody gets hunted down. There's no horror themes in it. It's purely the realization of, oh, that's what those noises are. Oh fuck. But you won't detect it. You'll just think it's something weird, or your pipes, or something else, or they explain it away.
Yeah.
And then when you realise what it is, it's just. And I think it took me 4 times to get to that point. It's just an amazing film.
It's a film.
Unique.
It's a film where if there is horror, it comes from you.
Yeah, oh, yes, well put. Very well put.
Because what goes on in your mind is the scary part. The actual film itself is not done in a threatening way at all. It's done in a very matter-of-fact way.
Almost documentary. Almost.
But once you've assembled the pieces, you can find other things. And I think that's kind of the best place to really to leave that one.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. See, I'm looking through my collection of films. I've got 2 that I kind of want to have a look at. One is, and it's going back into the past, Magnum Force.
Okay.
Which is the second Dirty Harry movie.
Yep.
Because I've only recently, for the first time, watched the first Dirty Harry movie.
Andrew Robinson is fantastic, isn't he? It's
Um,
do you notice who he is?
You've lost me for a second there.
So the guy he's chasing from
Yeah.
film is in tons of other movies. But he's always low key. He's always in the background. He's always kind of like a minor character, but he's in so many things.
Is it Tom Hiddleston? Loki.
No, it's Andrew Robinson, isn't it? Andrew Robinson is the bad guy.
Sorry, being bad.
Oh, okay. So I'm now looking up him as an actor. That's
So Hellraiser,
Yeah.
and I believe Deep Space Nine. And
What? See, now that's disturbed me. I didn't realise that was Garak.
Yeah.
Good lord. Okay. That's wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
He's in a lot of stuff. I think he's in uncredited in A New Hope as well. I think he's one of the pilots in A New Hope.
that makes it. That makes that film more creepy now. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Anyway, watch Dirty Harry.
No, they're good.
recently.
I like Dirty Harry. I should watch
Yeah.
those again as well. They're really good.
This is the thing, though. I watched it, and you really have to take it as a piece that is of its time.
Oh yeah.
Like some of the views and some of the methods used in it are like completely morally reprehensible. But if you look at it in its time and what it was a reaction to, it works.
We've had a bit of an Eddie Murphy thing recently, and I watched 48 Hours yesterday. We watched 48 Hours as well. We had a bit of movie binge yesterday, and
Yep.
that is and something you've made me think of that because it's incredibly racist at times, but it's of its time. It's made really early 80s. It's also Eddie Murphy's first film. I didn't realise that was 48
Okay.
Hours. Yeah, obviously in a similar way that the level of kind of tolerance is minimal, isn't it?
Yeah. But the other option I have is the US remake of Let the Right One In, which is Let Me In, which I've never
Yeah, I've
seen,
seen
and
that.
I've heard it's fine, but I wanted to kind of watch it myself.
It's I think fine. I'd go as far as it's good. I mean, yeah. I think the original's better, but yeah,
So
original's language thing's a creepy thing.
there we go. But definitely a homework for everyone.
Yes,
Rewatch of Blade Runner.
I think more Gene Hackman for me as well. Definitely.
Lots of homework by the sounds of it.
Well, I mean, you don't have to watch everything we're watching, but Blade Runner, and then if you want to be caught up for the Primer discussion, watch Primer as well, because that's watch it 4 times back to back if you could.
Really?
Well, the last thing you want is to be left out, is
Yeah,
Try and watch it twice if you really want to try. Try and watch it twice. Not back to back, but watch it and then leave it a bit and go back to it, watch it again. There's so much more to it second time round.
So anyway, all that remains is to say you've been listening to the Quarantine Film Club.
it's my line.
Mine now. I'm Mike. Well, I've been Mike.
Well, yeah. I've been Alex.
I'm Cat.
Bye.
Bye, Nick.
Say goodbye, Nick.
Say goodbye,
Bye, Nick.
Bye, Nick.
And there we go. That's a podcast.
I didn't look at my Twitter at all, so if I got messages, I don't know what they were.
I turned all sound off this time because this uses the system sound to record from.
I haven't got any. I've just looked.
Yeah. So we did have weirdly viewers watching live, which was interesting.
Cool. Moreover, more importantly, noise things. Where is my copy? And probably where is yours?
Pardon?
Root.
Yes, those are good. Well, this is the thing. The post system in Basingstoke is running over a week late.
Okay, so here's a question that I'm wondering is part of the problem. How many fluffy extras did you order? How many polyurethane extras did you order? Neoprene, I mean.
I ordered the playmats. I didn't order the plushies.
So did I. So I think that means that ours are probably on the third container.
Yeah.
Because I think because nobody's got their stuff so far. Has got, and they did say that the initial boxes would be the simple ones, and the complex ones would be the later ones.
Yeah. I am going to end the stream here. But the voice chat will continue. So thank you very much for everyone who's listened in. And we hope to see you for the next episode soon.